Yes, my people, welcome back to another episode of Where's My Podcast. You know, my intro is usually today we're joined by another special guest. Today we haven't got, in fact now I feel bad because Rash is special, but we ain't got like a guest that you're thinking about. Today it's just me and Rash. And we're going to do something a bit different today. Basically, obviously you know we've been doing the podcast for a while now. Rash, when did we start this? Was it May 2020? I think it was May 2022 was when we dropped the first episode.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But obviously we've been doing it for a while, and I feel like both of us have acquired a lot of knowledge from the people we've spoken to. And I thought, really and truly, because I haven't recorded in a while and we've got some episodes lined up, I thought, you know what, let me ease myself back in because I think I'm a bit rust right now. So let me basically just have a conversation with Rash where we're pretty much just going to talk about what we'd say we've learned from doing the podcast. And of course, we've learned a lot, so we're choosing to pretty much zone in on like brand building. So pretty much what we've learned about what goes into building a brand. And basically, I'm going to talk you through a list of 10 things, and I'm basically going to reference the different episodes that allude to those things. So yeah, let me go straight in with number one. Hey, that's how you know I've rehearsed, because I didn't even need to look at my notes. I remember number one straight away. So number one is basically your first brand doesn't have to be your last. Right, so what do you think of that one though, before I go into it though?
Yeah, like I think a lot of brands not a lot of brands, a lot of people do that. Like they'll have a brand. We know a couple of people that have started brands first and then they've had like legal issues and then they've had to start another one. It's all about, I think as long as you stick to like your principles within like the fashion, like what you're creating in terms of your brand, then it shouldn't be a problem. Obviously it might be difficult to get your new brand out there, but if you've got the reputation that you had from your old brand, you should be good.
So true. Yeah. In fact, hey Rash, I put you on the spot there, but you handled it though.
Just
coming like Saka with a penalty.
Coming clutch, man.
Coming clutch. But yeah, literally, I'll echo everything Rash said. I think to some people may say that the point I've just made is obvious, but I don't think it's as obvious as people think. Because having started the platform, whatever, and had conversations with different people and tracked different people's journeys, sometimes I feel as though people feel like they have to stick with something even when maybe they've outgrown it or the brand isn't doing what they wanted it to do. And I think that often comes down to a number of things where you feel like you've obviously put in a lot of effort into building like that brand name. And you're like, you obviously don't want to relinquish that, do you know what I'm saying? You don't want to get rid of that. But I feel like from having done this podcast and spoken to all the different people that we've spoken to, a lot of people have reached that point where they thought, should I start a new brand? And have decided to start one despite the fact that that can come with a lot of risk. Do you know what I'm saying? And to me, when I make that point, I think the two main people that stand out are Terrell, who runs a brand called Voir L'Avenir, and echoing Rash's point about legal issues, Risha Boa. So I'll start off talking about Terrell. So for those of you who watched the episode, Terrell, you would know that Terrell had a brand called Blessed Individual before. Great brand, smashing it, was going viral on Twitter. He was doing really well with the brand, and this is a brand that he had when he was a bit younger. Also, this brand was a lot more like graphics based, and it was less like, I don't say conceptual, but it was less of the lane that Terrell is in now. And Terrell was in that luxury, he's in that luxury streetwear space, you know what I'm saying? And then being in that space, you need to have different types of skills. And the reason I kind of position it like that is because as to some, it may seem as though it's not that big of a pivot, but for Terrell, it was quite a big deal. Obviously, the Blessed Individual brand had huge meaning, and you can tell from the name, and it was a huge part of his fashion story. But from listening to Terrell that day, I could see that Terrell felt as though he outgrew that brand, and that brand could no longer do what he wanted to do within fashion, if that makes sense. So I feel like it's important to separate yourself from the brand that you've built, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think Terrell is a fantastic example. He's obviously got Voir L'Avenir now, and now he's doing like cut and sew pieces. He released a wavy varsity jacket not too long ago. I think he's on his maybe his second collection now or third collection, but he's smashing it. And he wouldn't be doing what he's doing now if he didn't take the leap to say, you know what, as much as I've built a great brand with Blessed Individual, I have different goals within fashion now, because importantly, I've grown as a person, so now let me just start a new brand. So you really have to be brave in that sense. And in the Risha Boa example, obviously, for those who know Reese's story, he had a brand called Saint London, and Saint London was doing incredible things. Obviously, Reese is that's my guy. You know what I'm saying? We've grown up together, so I saw Saint London from almost like its inception to the point where, unfortunately, he had to stop the brand. You know, they did incredible things where he had Future wearing it, he had Young Thug wearing it, he had a shop, just bare people wearing it, and in the ends, everyone was wearing it. He done a pop-up store in Grove, like bruv, Reese was smashing it, and by no fault of his own, legal issues meant that he had to stop the brand. And I think it's important to mention this episode and this story because in cases like that, if somebody believed that, okay, they can only have one brand in life, then that's the end of Reese's journey, do you know what I'm saying? But he's taken all his learnings from St. London and he's put that into his eponymous brand now, Yaboa, and he's killing it. I was at his launch, which was in, I think it was the Tate Modern. Bro, I've never seen nothing. Rash, remember when I'll show you the video?
Yeah,
bro, I've never seen
mad,
nothing,
I can't
bro.
lie.
Crazy.
It was like your first like fashion show, like
I think it was, you know.
yeah, like with
and bro,
like a
it set
runway
the
and stuff
bar
like that. Yeah.
so high. I was like, what? Bro, drinks, and bro, patterned. But yeah, I think his story is one that, if you haven't listened to the episode, I'm basically just going to use this episode as a way to plug all the episodes you've had in the past, you know. So if you haven't had a chance to take in Reese's story, please do that. And I think those two people in particular really show us that, yo, yes, you can have a brand, but if you start to develop as a person, your goals start to change, then it's perfectly fine to create a new one.
Even with like the Reese one, yeah, like obviously some people probably have the choice of just like starting a new brand, but he was kind of forced into it. But maybe this is a blessing in disguise because obviously, from what I've seen anyway, like there's differences between like St. London and Yaboa. So I feel like with Yaboa so far, it's been like not as like graphic based as it is now. So maybe that's the direction he's kind of going in now, and he's focusing more on like the quality. Not that he said he didn't before, but obviously because his first brand was like kind of like grassroots, like he was like learning on designs, and he probably wasn't like well informed like the quality back then as he is now. So maybe like it's not always a bad thing that you need to kind of be forced in the end, start again, kind of
Facts.
thing. Yeah.
I totally agree with Rash. Literally, like, it's good Rash made that point because I was kind of coming from the angle like you always have a choice, but sometimes you don't have a choice. Do you know what I mean? So what do you do in those situations? And Yaboa is a great example. I forgot to mention his collaboration with Cos, and I think the point Rash was making about going from almost like graphics based, going from like being a graphic designer type brand owner to like what people consider as like a fashion designer.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important distinction to make because, not to say unfortunately, but when you want to do certain things within fashion, I feel like right now, the way the fashion world works is like you kind of have to do the fashion designer stuff to a certain degree. Like you eventually have to start doing the cut and sew stuff. And sometimes you just need to start a whole new brand to basically do that. So do not start if you're not ready to hustle. And I have to caveat that by saying, with how I've written it, hustle is in inverted commas. Because
Yeah, I was gonna say like, what do you mean by that? Like, I was gonna say, bro, like,
because I don't mean finesse, like I don't mean sheg.
Yeah.
That's far from what I mean. I mean hustle in the grinding sense of the word. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you know when in basketball, Rash, you're a basketball man, when they say certain players like have, for example, I don't know if I'm correct in saying this because I'm not really a basketball person, but someone like Nate Robinson, he's small, but he had hustle.
Yeah, I
you
heard
get
that
it.
still. Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
You see that? See, I know
heard
my
that
basketball stuff now, you know, NBA 2K and that. So yeah, I thought to mention that because something that I think anybody that listens to the platform, and Rash will probably attest to this as well, if you're not ready to work hard, then don't start this. Yeah. For me, that's been one of the most beautiful things about doing this and most, I don't want to say eye-opening, but yeah, one of the most eye-opening things about having all these conversations, because I feel like this is probably the main thing that ties in all the conversations together. The fact that everybody we've spoken to has just grinded, man. Like no one's been given stuff on a silver platter. Everybody's had to do certain things and be really resourceful. And going back to the point I made about in the beginning about like aligning it with certain episodes, I want to highlight Romeo's episode, True V episode. And I'm wearing a True V hat.
Yeah.
Big up my guy Romeo.
No, I can't lie. He's a good example. Though.
It's a good example, isn't it? Yeah. Because bro, Romeo was telling us how when he first started the brand, he was in uni and he was driving around. I can't remember what car he said he had, but he was driving around in uni, just selling shit out the trunk. You get it, selling stuff out the trunk. Because, bruv, that's how a lot of people start. You get it? Most people aren't able to start by getting funding from someone and having a showroom and being able to get into stockists. It don't really start like that, especially in the streetwear space. You know what I mean? You have to start in a way where it's like you're a hustler. Do you know what I'm saying? What do they call it? Hand to hand. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's really how it
What you
has
put
to be.
in, you'll get back, man.
You get it, bro. You feel me? So, yeah, man, just it sounds like a simple point, but I think it's an important one to highlight, because if you don't have that hustle, then you will struggle.
Because even with Romeo, like he's done like the parties and stuff, and then also running his brand at the same time, he does like the tailoring as well. So like he has different avenues to his whole brand, and like it's just non-stop. Like he juggles a lot of things together. So I think he's a perfect example.
Perfect example. To do all of those things that Rash mentioned, you need to have the hustle. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think Rash's point about the events that he was doing as well, I like that, because that's another outlet for his hustle. Do you know what I'm saying? He's bringing people together so that he can do the direct to consumer thing. Do you know what I mean? Which is so important in the early days when you're first starting a brand. You have an experience and you sell the product at that experience. Like when I went to his most recent pop-up, I bought a t-shirt and he gave me this hat, and it wasn't like the event was to sell stuff, because he had performances, he had a runway for his new stuff, and then people could just buy. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think it ties into his story very well, because that's how he started. He didn't start necessarily with a website. He started off by selling to the people around him, hustling in that sense, and then now he's continued that. So when he has his events and he's selling things there, people get it. Do you know what I'm saying? That's Romeo. So big up Romeo and big up True V, and always hustle. So cool. Number 3. Ooh, this is a good one, but the reason I side a bit is because it's kind of difficult to explain. But what I've basically said is know where you want your brand to be positioned. And there's a couple episodes that I think speak to this point the best. First of all, let me start off by kind of describing what I mean when I say positioned. When I say position, I mean basically, okay, you're starting a brand, but what type of brand do you want to have? As we all know, we're human beings.
What type of brands though? Like, so do you mean as in like, so what we were talking about before? So if a certain brand wants to be in like high fashion or like the streetwear space, is that what you're kind of alluding to?
That's basically what I'm saying. But I'm even going more granular by saying, like, even within the streetwear space, you have different types of brands. Like, for example, you have Trapstar, which is like streetwear. Do you get it? Like it's hard to, but then again, that's a whole nother conversation. Maybe we should do an episode on what streetwear is, because even me, I don't necessarily know. I have my own opinion on it, and other people have theirs, innit? But Trapstar's worn on the streets, innit? Where I grew up, everyone was wearing Trapstar. Do you know what I'm saying? But then Rash, let me mention a brand like Eliza. You get it? Eliza will say they're streetwear as well. They're a streetwear brand, but they're not similar to Trapstar. You get what I'm saying?
I guess it's subjective, innit? So
very subjective. Yeah. So I think as somebody that's starting a brand, it's obviously the most important thing is to have your story, have your unique message that you're trying to say, your unique designs or whatever. But it's also really important to know where you want your brand to sit in relation to other brands. You get what I'm saying? Because even with like the luxury streetwear space, for example, you have like the Amiris and the Rudes, but then I wouldn't put Represent in that space, weirdly. But then one could say that Represent is luxury streetwear. So when you're first starting, it's really important to almost do like competitor mapping and like just try to work out where your brand sits in relation to other brands, because that plays a huge part into, one, the type of people you're targeting and how you target them through the things that you do. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if I've got a more conceptual brand like Eliza, or more conceptual streetwear brand like Eliza, big up Jack Harper and Nosa, by the way, I'm not necessarily going to try and reach the same people as Trapstar reach. Yeah. Because they're different types of people. Do you know what I mean? And this is something that Nate 3K, big up Nate, founder of 3000 Clothing, spoke about really well in his episode, and I really think you should go and watch the whole episode. If not, go and watch the clips that we put out, because he spoke about how he did that with his brand, and he spoke about how he looked at Represent and thought, maybe Represent's the type of aesthetic I want to go for. He looked at Cold Bucks and thought, yeah, maybe that's the type of brand I want to be. And then he dropped a major key where he's like, because he knows where he wants his brand to be positioned, he basically kind of worked out the type of people that follow those brands on Instagram and basically kind of targeted them in a way. Do Do you get it? Not necessarily through ads, but I feel like he said something like he was even DMing them himself, which echoes the fact that it's so important to know what type of brand you want to have and where it sits in relation to others. You know what I mean? And I also mentioned Fashion Roadman as well. Big up IO, man. Follow Fashion Roadman today. If you don't follow Fashion Roadman, I don't know what you're doing, because he has got the keys, man. And his episode was like maybe like our 3rd or 4th episode or something, really, really early. And he taught, Rash can attest to this as well, he taught us so much about brand positioning. And when I talk about brand positioning, I think one of the main things I took from his episode was like where you want your brand to be in terms of how it's perceived and like, how can I put this? Where it sits. So for example, he mentioned stockists, where he was saying things like, obviously you've got the Selfridges playroom, or I can't remember what it's called, but Rash, you know what I'm talking about, that joint in Selfridges that has like the Comme des Garçons play stuff. And
all the upcoming kind of brands as well.
You get it, exactly, and it's got like the roofs and all of that stuff, almost like luxury streetwear stuff as well. Like if you're that type of brand, okay, cool, it makes sense to be in Selfridges, but it doesn't make sense for you to try and get into stores like Machine A. Do you get what I mean? Which is more like higher fashion. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, when you're first starting, just have a think about those things. You get it? Because it's very, very, very important. And I think thinking about it will pay dividends in the long run. Reference things that are personal to you. And I made sure to write the you in capital letters. And again, like the other points that I've made, I feel like this is one that people may say is obvious. But I wouldn't say this is obvious. And there's a number of reasons why I wouldn't say this is obvious. And the main one is that we have consumer culture. And I think with a lot of people starting anything or starting brands, you want to reach the most people you can reach.
Yeah.
You get it? And sometimes when you're making things that are almost too... You tell yourself anyway that when you're making things that are almost too unique to you, it won't be able to reach as much people as you want it to reach. So people look at that as a negative thing. But from my research and from the conversations that I've had and also the conversations that I've listened to, it seems like the brands that tend to do the best are the brands that are literally telling the stories that are most relevant to them. And then other people kind of buy into that. And let me try to think of some examples. Before I say examples from the podcast, I'll think of examples of that specific point from other stuff that I've seen. So obviously you're all probably aware of George Heaton, founder of Represent. I was listening to one of his interviews the other day. Sick interview, by the way. I'll put it in the description or something. I probably won't, but let me just say that. But he was basically chatting to my man, and he basically said he started making certain gums because he wanted a t-shirt that fitted him the right way. He was saying because he's athletic and he goes to gym and all of that, the necks on certain t-shirts he was buying were almost like they weren't for him. Do you get it? So he started to design a product for himself, and that led to Represent becoming the mass $80 million revenue brand that we see today. But deep how that's opposed from what I mentioned at the beginning. Do you know what I'm saying? People feel like you can't do things that are too unique to you, but in so much business, and not just within fashion, it's like you find a problem within your own life, your own experience, your own world.
Relate to other people as well.
And then you solve it. But that like relates to other people. Like, you're not as unique as you think is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Even with me, like, when wearing trousers and stuff like that, like, when I go, like, Westwood or whatever, like, all these stores, most of them don't even fit me like correctly. So more time I got to go tailor my own thing. So even so, like, so obviously I'm not gonna say I'm gonna design trousers, but say if I design trousers for my own like benefit, like it could like relate to loads of or millions of people in the world, like thinking, like these normal trousers don't really fit me. So like from what you're doing, that's my kind of thing in it.
Exactly. So if you did design trousers, you're gonna design for yourself. And that's also going to solve a problem for so many other people. But bringing it back to the podcast, there were a couple people that I wanted to highlight. And I'm going to highlight Abigail Joby, big her up, man. She just released her most recent collection and she did a show for Paris Fashion Week. She smashed it. She's doing so well. Big up my guy, Benjamin Chay, founder of Gossa, smashing it too. And Josh, founder of Swamp Clothing. Rash, remember you loved this episode, didn't it?
Yeah, his episode was cold. I can't lie, yeah.
But yeah, I think in terms of all the guests you've had, those three really epitomise. And I'm also going to mention Gallinacci as well, by the way, which is our most recent episode. But I think those lot really epitomise building brands that are really personal to them. And I'll start off with Abigail. I'm not sure what collection this was. I think it may have been the Love Story Continues collection. But the collection was basically based on how her mum and her dad met each other.
Okay, cool.
And deep how personal that is to her.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
And I thought that collection was amazing. And one of the ways she kind of told that story was not just through a fashion film, but obviously through the designs.
Yeah.
And one of the designs was a suit that literally has her mum and dad's face on it.
Yeah,
Deep how personal that is,
yeah,
bro.
that's cold still.
But that is cold. You get it? If Abigail had said to herself, people won't care about this, it's too personal to me, it's too unique to me, people won't even know it's my mum and dad, then she would never have done it. But that point I just made about people wouldn't know whether it's her mum or dad, I think it's important for me to highlight that point in particular, because that's why the story becomes so important and how you tell the story. Because I think when you're referencing, this is going to be quite verbose, yeah? But I kind of compare it to like Marvel, like Easter eggs. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think what makes Marvel so special is because although it's a series of loads of different films, it's tied together by small, subtle references.
Yeah.
And people love that. And I think with fashion, the best brands that are really kind of able to build almost like a universe are the ones that are able to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the ones where, okay, somebody may see Abigail's suit, yeah? Or her design that have the print of her parents on it, and they may think, wow, who's that? Do you get it? But it's intrigued them. And then cool, it's intrigued them, and they thought,
Got them thinking, innit?
it's got them thinking, and then they thought, damn, I'm gonna find out who this is. Now they've gone to see how Abigail has told that story, and then they've seen the film, and then they're like, oh my God, it's her parents. You get it? And then that's one little Easter egg that has enabled someone to buy into Abigail's brand story. Do you get the point I'm trying to make?
Yeah, fact.
Get it? So big up Abigail and that, man. I love how personal her collections are.
And I think with Abigail making that fashion film, for me, I love like people with brands like promoting their brand that way, because some people might not even know their story. So it's like, how are they actually meant to get their message out there? So with things like short documentaries, like fashion films, I think that's a really like innovative way of like getting your brand out there and getting the audience to know your story better and stuff like that. So I think more brands should kind of like take note of that. Obviously, I know everyone's gonna do a fashion film, but maybe like a campaign, like something like that, just to like get your story out there and then see what it's saying.
100%. And trust Rash to say that, because obviously he's the visuals man. You get it? So he knows how impactful that sort of content is. So I'm really happy that you kind of emphasize on that point as well, because it's all about telling that story, and visual arts or film or whatever, photography is an incredible way to tell that story. And explain those references that people see on the garments, you know what I mean? So continuing on this point, Benjamin Chay, founder of Gossa I love how personal the brand is to him. Like Gossa in French means kid at heart, child at heart. And Benjamin throughout the episode was basically telling us that from young, that's how people have kind of perceived him, do you know what I'm saying? Although he's obviously mature, great guy, he's got that childish, almost like innocence to him as well, and that childish curiosity, do you know what I'm saying? And that's something that drove him to start his brand, and that's something that he kind of references through his different collections. I'm not too sure. For example, he's got a collection called I think it's the Daydreaming collection.
Yeah.
And who daydreams more than anyone? Kids, you know what I'm saying? They live in their imagination, do you know what I mean?
So it literally goes back to what he believes in. Like it basically what you're saying. It ties back to his kind of like brand and like his big message of that he's still a kid at heart, but obviously like you were saying, like kids dream, and then that's it. That ties together. There's a link there.
Exactly. And I'm sure Benjamin isn't the only person that people see as a child at heart. Do you get what I'm saying? And he definitely isn't the only person that dreams, because we all do, even though we're all adults. Do you know what I'm saying? So his story, the story that he's telling, is so unique to him, because that's like it's what his parents would call him and whatnot. But his story is almost like universal in a way as well.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show that even when you think things are unique to you, you are not as unique as you think. And that's no diss, because I'm talking about myself as well. Do you get it? Like, and you should take that as a positive, because that should show you that people are going to relate to you, even though you're telling stories that are just that you think are just relevant to you. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. And even continuing the point of Benjamin's parents, I remember he had a collection, I think it was called the Archive Collection or something.
Yeah.
And the reason he had that collection was because his parents would keep everything. You see, if you're Ghanaian, if you're African, you're a hoarder. Do you get it?
OG.
So, bro, come on, you know how it goes, Rash. So from there, it's like, us West Africans or Africans in general are going to be like, yo, like, he's got the archive collection because his parents hold on to stuff. Yo, my parents have got everything too. Do you know what I'm saying? And throughout that collection, he referenced things that his parents have in the archive. Do you know what I'm saying? So big up Benjamin. And lastly, I'll mention Josh. Josh's stuff is wavy, yeah? Like,
It's different, man. I can't
so
lie.
different. I had never seen anything like it. And it's interesting with Josh because at the time he didn't have that much of a personal brand. So when I decided to reach out to him, it was purely out of the fact that I rated his designs so much. And also his designs, going back to the point about his references being unique, the stories he was telling through his garments were quite cryptic in a sense. So they'd intrigue me because I would kind of guess why designs were the way they were, but I couldn't get the full story. So what did I do? I got Josh on here to basically tell those stories.
And his explanation for the stories were quite like mad as well. Some of them, I can't remember specifically what he said, but from the long lines of like, he's like, there was like one of like a mountain and he was looking down, like a bird was looking down from the mountain or something along those lines in it. Is like, but the explanations for his designs, like, it's proper in depth, like, and then that's kind of what you want from like a brand owner. Like, you want like each piece or each collection kind of like to mean something and not just throw it out there just for the sake of it. But yeah,
Facts. And you know what, Rash, I'm happy you said that as well, because to sidetrack from Josh's episode for a bit, that reminds me of Jack Harper and Eliza, because I feel like going back to the point you're basically making about the way Josh was communicating and telling his story himself, Jack Harper does that incredibly well in the episode that we did together. Like, he broke down what Eliza meant, and he broke down why Eliza was so important to him, and that I can't remember the name of the documentary, but the documentary that he watched that made him decide to start this brand. Like, it holds so much weight being able to explain those references. Do you know what I'm saying? Because people are so interested in that.
Yeah.
Like, I could watch Jack's episode over and over again, even though it's like nearly 2 hours, because like, it's incredible how he explains things that can seem quite complex. Do you know what I'm saying? And going back to Josh's stuff, Josh basically has a brand where he uses, like, I don't know how to describe it, but almost like tapestry type art on his garments that tell stories.
Yeah.
So he's got loads of different ones, and throughout the episode, you hear that all those stories are meaningful to him. That is things he's experienced in his own life. You get it? And now, through him coming on the podcast and telling that story, I've now almost like bought into the Swamp clothing universe, because I'm waiting to see what's happening next. And when I see what's happening next, I'm thinking, obviously I'm cool with Josh now, so I can message him. I could be like, yo, bro, you good? Like, what's going on? Like, I just seen you get it? Like, those things hold so much weight and add so much to your brand value. So, sorry, I feel like we went on a bit, but
nah, it's cool.
To round off this point, oh, sorry, go on, Mash, go on.
No, I was gonna say even like the process of it as well, like, because I'm pretty sure with going back to Josh, like, he used like oil paintings as well to kind of like inspire his designs and stuff like that. So even that, like you're saying before, he didn't have like a personal brand, but I felt people like knew his process and like they would kind of like be fantasized by it, because it's like it's not like the norm of how to make like garments and stuff like that. So it's quite intriguing. That's how I took it as well.
Definitely intriguing, and I think it makes people respect the art more. It makes people almost respect the garment more, because he kind of broke down the work that goes into it. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, big up Josh. And yeah, to round off that point, your references. Oh, I nearly forgot this. Basically, at work, I'm starting a new job soon. You're probably thinking, why is he mentioning this? But it means that, yeah, I've got my hand over to doing that, but I've had a bit of spare time in it. Don't tell my boss. So as I've been in the office, I've been watching like fashion documentaries that I found in it, and I found one about Stella McCartney. So random. If you don't know Stella McCartney, she's an incredibly famous designer, and she is the daughter of Paul McCartney from the Beatles. Obviously, we probably got Gen Z listeners of that. They're thinking, who's the Beatles? Like, you get it? But they were like the biggest band ever, innit? So anyway, she basically made a collection. Or I can't remember if she did a collaboration with someone or something, but she made lingerie. And one of the pieces she made was a mastectomy bra. If you don't know what a mastectomy is when a woman has breast cancer, unfortunately, and they have to get one of their breasts taken out. And the reason Stella McCartney did that was because her mum died of breast cancer. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's something that's obviously so personal to her, but she knows that that's going to resonate with so many women, so many people across the world, because she's meeting a need that so many women need across the world. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So though it was relevant to her, it was still relevant to the quote unquote, I don't even want to say masses, because it doesn't have to be relevant to the masses. Do you get what I mean?
But
it just has to be
people can resonate with her
relevant
message,
to
though.
your community.
Yeah.
Get it? So yeah, man, reference stuff that are important to you. People will buy into things that you don't necessarily believe that they'll buy into. And one more thing, the Cortez crossbar challenge. It's funny because I was talking to someone yesterday, Rash, yeah, and I mentioned this to them as well. And I was like, I first said, yeah, obviously that the crossbar challenge is something that everyone kind of knows about. And then I said, you know what? That's not what everyone knows about, because yeah, we grew up playing in cages and that, so that shit was normal to us. But a lot of Cortez's like customer base didn't grow up doing that stuff. So therefore, Clint referenced something that was very personal to him, because bro, me and Clint used to play for the same football team, so we've done crossbar challenges together. I know that Clint does that stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? Whereas a lot of people haven't done. Some people may not even know what it is. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's why I love that activation, because it was personal to him. It came with prizes at the end, and that for me, that's part of the reason why it went viral. Do you know what I'm saying? It allowed people to feel like they know more about Clint. You get it? Because he told a personal story through an activation. You know what I mean? This one may be a bit quick, but this one, I'm saying. Sorry, let me just get a sip of water. Cool, I've been waffling. I should have bought some snacks or something. But then if I was chewing sweets in that, you're saying that's a no-go for podcasting, like. But so I've said create with meaning and purpose. Okay, cool. Let me put this to you, Rash. So with the point I just made, yeah, create with meaning and purpose. What 2 episodes do you think I'm gonna reference?
Meaning and purpose.
Yeah, and this is no slight to any of the other guests, because I feel like everybody had a brand story, but there was 2 that really stood out to me for this point.
Well, the first one popped to mind was Gallinacci, I can't lie.
Okay, cool. Number 1, cool. Yeah. You're rolling now, cool. What's the next one? Come on, Rash, get this, please. I know you're gonna get this.
Meaning and purpose. Oh, mine's gone blank, man.
Go on, Rash. Get this.
Give me a clue.
Oh, bro, how could I? I'm trying to think.
Because we've done quite a few this year, bro.
I've mentioned them already this episode.
Oh, you mentioned them, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say any name because, like, yeah, mine's gone blank. This feels like school, bro. You know, you're trying to
when I say it, you're gonna kick yourself because you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, like
meaning and purpose, bro. What brand had like the most world-changing purpose?
Reese.
Okay, cool. But Reese's is like helping others, innit? So Reese's thing is, I get it. But another one though. Should I just say it?
Yeah, bro.
Bro, Eliza, man.
Oh, shit.
Rush, man.
Oh, my days.
You got the Gallinacci one was good, though.
Yeah.
I'm happy you got that one straight away. Yeah. But yeah, so I've chosen to highlight Gallinacci and Jack Harper from Eliza. Big up Jack and Nosa. And the reason I decided to speak about these 2 for this point in particular is because I feel like both of them have seen clothing as a way to revolutionize fashion. Whereas I think a lot of the other brands that we've spoken to, or the other designers we've spoken to, they have their story and their story is meaningful and they want to make change 100%. But they're not necessarily trying to change how we view clothing. And the people that have seen the episodes, well, yeah, you would have seen Gallinacci's by now. I can't lie, I really want to put this out there. I love this episode. I was going to put this out tomorrow, bro. But yeah, so Gallinacci spoke about having human wear, which is basically his way of like elevating the utility of streetwear in a sense, by basically showing people that through streetwear, it can really be a way to kind of almost like motivate yourself to believe that you can do more. So that's like his side of things. And then Jack's was ethos wear, and ethos wear is like echoing almost like the brand message of Eliza. Ethos wear is meant to be clothing that really reflects who you are as a person. Do you know what I'm saying? So pretty much clothing with real meaning. Do you get what I mean? So I think that's a major key for anybody that's listening, because you don't just, it's one thing to think about your brand story, but it's like, what sort of change do you want your brand to make? Do you get what I mean? And I think it's good to have those sort of big goals, because it's like, it's something crazy to work towards. You get it?
Yeah.
And I think in working towards goals like that, because they're so big, it kind of allows you to be more creative in a way, and it allows you to do more stuff around your brand than if you don't have something like that. So, for example, Gallinacci's doing like almost like I don't know if it's all them almost like essays about his brand. He's doing like theses, if that's what you call it, bro. Ain't theses shit. How do you pronounce it? Thesis?
Thesis, yeah.
Yeah, he's doing multiple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's doing those about his brand where he's speaking about human wear. Do you get what I'm saying? And Jack can do the same. Jack's done. I think he's even done lectures speaking about ethos wear. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that's a major key for brand owners. When you have those type of goals, you can do things that maybe you didn't really imagine yourself doing. You kind of almost become like an academic in a way. You get what I'm saying?
You gotta be a student of the game, though, innit?
What'd you say, bro?
You gotta be a student of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, that's number 5. Cool. Number 6. This one is like, bruv, this is basic, innit? But it's something that through doing the podcast, I've realized that people didn't realize how important it was until they started. And that's really know the business. I think the most unfortunate thing about this, where to be fair, it's like this with anything in fashion. You can't really learn these things until you start doing it.
Yeah, you got to learn on the go kind of thing.
You know?
Or you can listen to the podcast.
Ooh, what a plug. Rash, you're moving like me today. What's going on? We say we swap bodies Freaky Friday.
Yeah,
But yeah, you have to know the business. You get it? And there's a couple episodes. Well, it's funny because in my notes, I basically put everyone because I feel like everybody has basically mentioned, you need to know about this, you need to know about that.
Yeah, and I can't lie, like this point, this is for me, that's what kind of I like those type of podcasts that we record. So with the Josh thing, the Tidy thing, they went through things while creating this brand where they took an L, and obviously they learned from it and they're in a good position now. But I like those type of podcasts because it's kind of like a underdog kind of story. Like they taking L's after L after L and they bounce back kind of thing. So yeah, for me, I think it's all part of the process. Like you have, for me, like it's a cliche saying as well, but if you don't lose, you're never gonna like win kind of thing. Because if you're winning and winning and winning, actually that's the terminology. But if you know what I'm trying to say,
exactly
like,
what you mean.
Yeah, but yeah, if you don't go through those trials and tribulations, you're not gonna really evolve, or you're not gonna have hunger or anything like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah,
because without risk,
no
comes
reward.
no reward. Do you know what I'm saying? But in risking, you can lose a lot.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, Rash, that our perspectives on the episodes are so similar because those are 2 people that I wrote in my notes.
Okay.
The Taddy episode and the Joss episode. Because remember, Taddy obviously spoke about losing a whole collection.
And she lost like,
manufacturing.
I think she lost like 20k or something like
something
that. Yeah,
mad. You get it?
I'm moving like the Shane and top boy.
Bro, you got to do something mad, didn't we? Say you're going to be
kills
angry with that
definitely,
manufacturer, boy. Shove his head in the flipping washing machine or something. But yeah, you have to know the business. And in that episode, I loved how Taddy told the story because she didn't just say, oh, I lost 15 bags and this is how. She told us what happened and then she showed what that led to. Yeah. Like I didn't really have to prompt her to be like, oh, okay, what did you learn from that? She basically just told it. And she was basically saying through that, she learned how to kind of protect her assets within fashion. And she mentioned something called, I can't remember, man. It was like one acronym, but through experience or something like that, she learned something about business within fashion. Do you know what I'm saying? And then in regards to Josh's episode, Josh's story was so interesting because Josh was saying how when he first started, he was doing like the influencer stuff on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like what Josh said, a lot of the people he's spoken to have echoed this as well, where Josh basically said he had a following on Instagram. So he said to himself, yeah, what? I'm going to order all these pieces. I'm going to sell all of them. So I can't remember how many pieces he ordered. But
yeah, he sold one, innit?
Yeah, he said he sold one. Yeah. And to this day, he said he still had so many of them that only recently he just gave the rest to charity.
Yeah.
So because he didn't understand the business of fashion, he bought and basically lost money.
So instead of like buying 50, especially for Josh, is like, well, like it's not cheap, innit? Like, because obviously he does
he was doing something different before though. Swamp was at the beginning.
But even still, like instead of like buying like 50 hoodies, maybe about like 25, 20 first, and then kind of like scale up from there and then see where it goes kind of
You
thing.
get it? And the only way Josh and the countless other designers that have told us that would have learned that is through trying and through doing things like that.
Facts.
But so the learning I'm giving from this is like, when you hear those sort of stories, it kind of tells you that, okay, you need to research how to price your stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? Because even when we were speaking to Eves the other day, Eves said he had a brand when he was 16 and he made X amount of that brand, but unfortunately had to stop the brand. And then I was like to him, bro, when you first started, how the hell did you know how to price your garments? And he was like, bro, I just doubled it. He said, however much it cost for him to make, he'll just double it. Do you get what I'm saying? Just to sell it for that. But then he realized that that's not correct pricing strategy, because naturally when you're first starting, you don't have an understanding of the fashion business. So yeah, I would say that's one of the main learnings from having done this podcast. Learn as much about the business of fashion as you can before you start and whilst you're first starting, and then the rest will come over time as your brand scales. You know what I'm saying? As you get your first office and you learn about overheads and all of this stuff.
Just be like, obviously nothing's going to be perfect at the start, but I guess the more you prepare, like you won't be surprised when things happen and stuff like that. So
facts, exactly, facts. You know what I'm saying? What do they say? Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. But also, let me caveat this by saying, do you know what? Hold that thought actually, because I think I'm gonna mention this later on. But yeah, man, know the business, man. Learn the business as much as you can. Cool. Hey, we're speeding through this, you know. Number 7. Okay, cool. Yeah, number 7. So for number 7, I've said make the customer feel special. What I like about this point is that you can interpret it in different ways, in a sense that one can make the customer feel special through the garments that they make, like the actual clothing that they make, or you can make the customer feel special through like the marketing that you do. For example, you can make a customer feel special by doing giveaways. You know what I'm saying? Doing giveaways to the first 100 followers or something like that. Those customers start to feel part of your community because of things like that. Or you can make the customer feel special through the packaging. Do you get what I'm saying? Like leaving little notes in there. I remember when I bought something off Dolo, I bought a hat off Dolo. Big up Dolo, buy some money. Incredible brand. To be fair, I should have mentioned Dolo about the personal references as well. Yeah. Because he referenced a lot of stuff. Ooh, I must have him somewhere. I'll get to Dolo. Yeah, I'll get to Dolo. But yeah, so Dolo's got a brand called Buy Some Money. And when he sent me the hat that I bought, he left a little note. And he was like, oh, thank you for always supporting and whatnot. Do you get it? Yeah. That made me feel special as a customer, to the point where I have a little whiteboard in my room and I've got, what's them things called? You know when you could put like the little needle things?
Yeah, the pins.
Yeah, the pins. Yeah. So I've pinned that note to my whiteboard, or the thing next to the whiteboard. You get what I'm saying? It made me feel special. But the main episodes I want to reference for this point is Hugo, who runs a brand called Pieces, and Woozy. Yeah, you get it, Rash? Yeah, definitely. Because their stuff is bespoke. Do you know what I'm saying? Like no two pieces are the same. And I love how Hugo goes to the lengths of making people feel special and like highlighting on the point that each garment is like a one of one. Yeah. By almost like implementing that into like the brand's almost like ethos and the brand's story and the brand's like tagline. Because obviously it's called Pieces, and Pieces stands for pushing individuality every chance and every step. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he's really, really trying to make someone feel special. Then obviously you got Wizzy, who's doing everything she does, and you know, with her denim wear. Do you know what I mean? And like, I think when she first started anyway, every piece was a one of one. Do you get it? So every girl that was wearing her stuff like knows that, yo, I'm the only person with this. You get it?
Imagine the feeling when people asking, oh, that's nice, where'd you get it from? Be like, it's 101, man.
Exactly, literally, it's 101. And this isn't me saying that every brand should do that, because that's a business model in itself. Do you get it? And if that's the type of brand you want to have, do it. But whatever brand you have, try to make your customer feel special in however that looks like for you.
Yeah, I feel like there's pros and cons to it, because obviously, like you were saying before, because it's a bespoke kind of thing, like not everyone's going to have the same piece and stuff like that. But I guess that's also a pro in itself, actually. Like you were saying, like people can say they got that one piece that no one else can get. But I feel like it might be a bit harder for people like Woozy and Hugo, because like they can't mass produce all these pieces that they're releasing and stuff like that. But then again, like having that relationship with the customers that they have, like coming into the shop, trying it on, like tailoring all that stuff. It's special, and then I feel like people value that way more than buying like things that are like mass produced and stuff like that. So yeah,
100%. Literally, I would totally agree. As you're saying, it's a double-edged sword, and that's why I made the point about if that is the business model you want to go down, but just know what comes of it. As mass producing is difficult. So what effect does that have on your bottom line? Do you know what I'm saying? But it's so interesting speaking about individuality, because from what I've kind of individuality and making your customer feel special, from what I've kind of researched, I feel like with couture, high fashion anyway, with the luxury houses, they were making one-of-one stuff for people.
Yeah.
And then it's only over time when they wanted more of that influence on that bottom line where they started to mass produce stuff. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Where like when they say they were dressing this celebrity, like that celebrity was literally wearing stuff that only they could wear. You get it? Whereas now I could get the same jacket as Burna Boy. I can't afford the same shit that he wears, but let's say he got a represent jacket, bro. Man can get a represent jacket. You know what I mean? So
I feel like that's deeper. That's a deeper point, because as well, you saying like you can get the same like jacket as Burna Boy, like, and that's where like, especially like Gen Z, like they'll spend so much money on all these garments and stuff like that, just so I got this now. But then it's like, okay, you got the same jacket as Burna Boy now, but then now what? Like you just.
So definitely not in the same place.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, yeah,
he's probably in a yacht in Monaco, south of France or something, and you're on the block. You get it, like. But do you know, we should definitely have a convo about that.
Yeah,
because that's another reason why I kind of wanted. Oh, that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. That's a whole nother. We'll speak about that one day, Rash. Still, but make your customer feel special. However that looks for you. Special is subjective. And big up Terrell actually, because he kind of showed me that as well, man. He kind of showed me that through packaging, packaging is an experience.
Yeah,
he spoke about luxury being an experience as well.
Because even Gallinacci as well, the way we see he packages his stuff, like, it is so like clean, like he's got like tissue paper and he's got like the box and stuff like that. For me as like customer, like obviously I know things will come like the like the normal package, like plastic bag, and you just rip open and stuff like that. But with having like a hoodie in a box or something like that, like it's more like prestige kind of thing. Like you feel better, like it's coming in this type of like packaging, like I don't know, like it values is more like when it comes into that presentation that you're getting. Yeah. In
fact, you look after it different. It's something that you covet. Like there's stuff that I've bought where in fact, let me think. There has been stuff in the past where I've liked the packaging so much that I've kept it.
Yeah, facts.
You get what I'm saying?
Facts.
And that echoes the point that Sean's making about what Gallinacci was basically saying, how he tries to have his like physical touch in all the pieces that he kind of sends out to people. So although I know that somebody else could have the same T-shirt, like the Pioneer of Greatness T-shirt, the fact that it was packaged the way Rash described it, I'm going to look after that T-shirt more. Maybe I won't just throw that in the wardrobe with the rest of my stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? I might put that in a special place. And that purely came out of the fact that the packaging made me feel special. So therefore, I'm going to treat that item special. Do you know what I mean? So, damn, we're nearly done. I'm on episode... sorry, I said episode. Flipping. Mistake. I'm on point 8 now. This is an interesting one. And Rash, I'm going to put you on the spot again. So far, you're what? How many questions have I asked you? I've only asked you...
Like
this is
three,
the second
maybe.
one I'm asking.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because the first one was basically the Jack Harper and the Gallinacci one. So cool. Make sure you're implementing professionalism into your role as a brand owner. What person do you reckon I'm talking about?
Professionalism, but that can be many things though. Like
true, very true.
But
who do you think highlighted this the most?
But
you might have to think hard for this because we recorded this time ago.
I swear.
Shall I give you a clue?
Yeah, go on.
We travelled for this one.
Sean.
Yes.
Yeah, Sean.
My brother Rash listens when we're recording. You know? Don't think he's just behind the cam on his phone, you know. Rash is there, fam.
Yeah, man, come on, man.
Sean Chimbani. Big up my guy Sean Chimbani, founder of Face Concept Stores. I learned so much from him that day. And again, this is something that people may think is just like common knowledge. Like it's needless to say. People may think that this is needless to say, but professionalism in creative industries is such an underrated trait. And the reason I say that is because in creative industries, when you're, how can I put it? When your moneymaker your cash cow is your creativity, you can rely on that. Do you get what I'm saying? For example, if you're an artist, you're just painting. You get it? You don't necessarily have to be in an office at 9 o'clock. You're not getting paid to be somewhere, quote unquote. You're getting paid to deliver art. You can start relying on your creativity, yeah? But that becomes a problem when you're starting to scale and you're starting to build a business, because every business needs levels of professionalism. Do you know what I'm saying? It goes from being a creative venture. When it goes from being a creative venture to a business, professionalism is an integral part of that. And that's something that Sean really taught me. Like, for example, as young people, and me, I'm what's the word? I am victim to this as well. Cool, let's say I've gone out on a night out and we're recording, say let's say I've gone out on a Saturday, we usually record on Sundays. If I'm not professional, I may not do enough of the research that I would usually do because of the fact that I went out the night before. But being a professional, I have to find that middle ground. So if I know I'm going out on Saturday, therefore I'm going to do my research for the episode on Sunday, on the Friday. Do you get it? And that's because I have to be a professional in order to be the best version of myself within this creative venture, if you want to call it that. So when the going gets tough, that professionalism is what's going to get you to those meetings. It's going to get you to those meetings that don't necessarily have like a financial endpoint. You get what I mean? Because obviously when we work, we know that we're going into the office and we're going to get paid X amount at the end of the month. But when you're building something, you're building a brand and you need to meet up with potential customers, or you need to meet up with somebody within fashion that you just want to learn from, you're not getting paid for that. So it's your professionalism or your want to be professional that will make you get up early the morning after you've gone on a night out. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, Rash, do you have anything to say regarding those points?
Yeah, but I was even gonna say though, sometimes I kind of agree you need to be professional, but I still think you can still be professional and like unique at the same time, because some of these brand owners, like the way they market themselves, like their clothes, like their whole persona kind of thing, like it's not to the norm of like someone who's like got their head straight on, but kind of thing. But they still got a plan behind everything they're doing, kind of thing. So you can still be professional in that sense, but you can still push the boat out, kind of thing. And like, kind of like to the point you kind of made before, like you're kind of like thinking how you're going to position yourself in that kind of like, well, like, cool, like I need to be professional, but I'm still going to be me. I don't really need to code switch as much, but yeah, I'm going to be here and think about what's the best result for the brand, kind of thing.
Facts.
Yeah.
Rash, that's such a good point. I'm so happy you mentioned all that, you know. I'm happy you did that caveat for me, because maybe what I was saying would have had people thinking that I'm saying, yeah, you just have to remain professional at all times. And I think when we use the word professional, we have a perception of it, which is like the British type of professionalism, stiff upper lip, don't talk, do as you're told, and that's it. But I don't necessarily mean that. So I'm happy Rash is talking about, yeah, through your marketing, through what people see, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Go crazy, do whatever works for your brand, you know what I'm saying? But when it comes to the intangibles, like those things behind closed doors, for you as an individual, in terms of when you're trying to build that brand / that business, remember to be professional. Okay, you can go into different rooms, especially as a creative, where you can, you can just be yourself, obviously, but just know that as the business grows, for example, we know private equity is a huge thing within fashion. Let's say investment is something that, venture capital is a huge thing within fashion. Let's say you have a meeting with an investor. Yeah, you're an artist, you build fashion or whatever, but maybe this investor feels like, maybe this investor is only going to buy into you as a person or your brand because of how you present yourself in that meeting. You get the point I'm trying to make? And this isn't me telling people to jeopardize on who they are, but just remember that although you are creative, you also have to have elements of professionalism throughout that journey. Do you know what I mean?
Even the point when you was like, they're buying into you, I think that's a big point, because like, you as a person as well it's important in this industry, because like you're going to make loads of relationships and stuff like that, and you don't want to kind of jeopardize that and stuff like that. You want to kind of have like the whole cohesiveness like with the people that you're working with and stuff, or the people you're going to work with in the future. So I guess keep that in mind.
Facts. Relationships is a huge point. Like even building this platform, Rash and I, like, how can I put this? Like when it comes to professionalism from like the back end of being behind this and all the relationships we have, like we have to remain professional. I don't want to say at all times, but man have to remain professional. Like a lot of people I've in this fashion journey, most of the people you've seen on this podcast, I've met or we've met through fashion. So they're not necessarily my friends. Yes, I've grown to be friends with a lot of them, but because we aren't friends, quote unquote, man, have to remain professional. Do you know what I'm saying? There's certain jokes that I won't say, or there's certain things, you get it? Like, man, have to be professional at times. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, big up Sean for all the knowledge that he dropped during that episode, man. So, we're rounding off soon. This one, number 9, again, this is an obvious one. But I've literally just wrote, marketing is a must. And throughout all of this conversation, like, I feel like we've alluded to the importance of like storytelling and whatnot and brand building in that sense throughout. And marketing is obviously a huge part of that. And there's a number of episodes that I think speak to the different types of marketing. So the 2 examples I've chosen, one for me looks at like social media marketing. And then the other example for me speaks to interpersonal marketing.
So there's 2 different types of marketing, basically.
Yeah, so there's multiple types of marketing, but for the purpose of what I'm saying, I kind of split. I just chose to spoke about 2.
Okay.
And there's 2 episodes, one on my left hand, one on my right hand. So Rash, this is the social media one, and this is the interpersonal one. So what ones do you think I'm talking about?
Is Eliza one of them?
Nah.
Marketing. I should get this one, I'm not gonna lie.
You're gonna have to think back for the social media one still.
So,
Think TikTok.
Loho.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And what's the other one? The
Like interpersonal, like marketing through yourself.
Galanachi.
Nah. That's a good one though, sorry.
Yeah.
That kind of falls into almost like social media as well though.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
This one is a recent conversation still.
Ibs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
And now that you've got the answers, you get why I switched it like that.
That's still.
So the first part is obviously what you do on like digitally. And big up my guy Loho, man. Hey, Loho's doing a lot, you know.
Yeah.
We need to rap, man, because Loho, when he came on the podcast, he had a brand called Driphead, and he was going viral on TikTok, man. It was very, very, very like streetwear, like Gen Z streetwear, like, and he was doing like activations in the train station and that, and he was putting. Do you remember the episode when I was laughing? I was singing the song that he put in the back of the TikTok.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember the song, but yeah, he was really leveraging TikTok for what it can do. And I remember he made a point where he was like, off of one TikTok, he saw X amount of £1,000 in sales, and I was like, bloody hell, like you can really see the ROI of this content making. Hey, Rash, you're gonna say something?
No, I was gonna save it to the end, innit? But I might as well say it now. But do you feel like marketing and like is more important now than craftsmanship? Because
I nearly choked on my water. What a question.
Because like nowadays, like obviously with the power behind social media and stuff like that, like it's crazy. Like even I don't want to say like any brand is bad, but a brand could be kind of median, is getting all the hype because of the way it's been marketed and stuff like that. But and even with the brands that are doing very well and they got good designs, they don't really have the craftsmanship behind like their brand and stuff like that. So do you feel like it's more important than like marketing is more important than craftsmanship?
Hey, because I've been putting you on the spot. Hey, be your own, you know. Because, bro, I don't really know how to answer this.
It's difficult,
See,
man. It's a
difficult
techie,
question,
yeah.
man, like,
I guess it's both sides to it, I guess.
yeah,
But
like, yeah. I think it's hard to. I think it depends where one sits on like a philosophical basis. Like regarding fashion, you have like your purists.
Yeah.
That is like, it don't matter. I don't care what you sell. I don't care what you sell. You can make this. Like you can make a piece of clothing that no one else can make. So to me, you are like the king of fashion, the queen of fashion. You're the best designer. But you have another person that will say, yeah, you can make that, but did anyone buy it? You get it? So I was gonna say, yeah, like you're talented and whatnot, but like what are the fruits of your labor?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? And often the ability to sell something, when you're trying to sell something, whether you like it or not, you have to market it in one way or another.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
true.
saying? Yeah. So I think nowadays it's very hard to separate the two in terms of putting one above importance.
Yeah, maybe they're both needed at the same time, I guess.
100%. 100%. And craftsmanship as well. Obviously, that's I don't want to say it's subjective, but when we think about craftsmanship, okay, from like a fashion perspective, Ras, would you say to be considered a craftsman within fashion, you have to like be able to cut and sew?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, to a certain extent, or maybe know about it. Like maybe you like so you have someone else on your team who does all that stuff, but maybe you should know how to do the basics of that stuff. Maybe you don't really do it. That's not your day to day, but I feel like you should be educated on it. At least know how to do some of it, maybe, and then. But you can also focus on obviously on the other side of the business and everything like that. But just have some knowledge of it, I guess.
Yeah. True. I agree, man. But yeah, to answer, I'm copping out and I'm saying it's tough. It's really tough. I don't know how to answer that question. I think the perfect person to answer that question is Fashion Road, man.
Yeah,
because he's got a video where he speaks about these stuff often in his videos, and there's ones where he speaks about there's one he released recently called "Is Luxury Fashion Still Worth It?" And I feel like that's one of the themes he kind of picks apart in that conversation where he talks about, you had the best designers, Christian Dior, Balenciaga and all their man, Yves Saint Laurent, doing all their thing and whatnot, and they were real craftsmen, real craftsmen. Do you know
Savaro and all them stuff.
You get it? But then now, those brands are selling you T-shirts that are made in the same factories as my bedroom's brand.
Yeah.
Because they've learned how to market their stuff. You get it? Bernard Arnault, the CEO of the LVMH group, he has changed fashion because of that, because of his understanding of marketing. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it's very hard to answer that question, but maybe that's bro. Rash, you're giving me bad ideas today. That's a conversation we should have still.
Facts, bro.
I reckon we could get Mike and Io in there.
Yeah, I think we should like a panel on that.
We should, innit?
Yeah.
We should. Yeah. So, what was my point?
That was a little detour. Okay,
sorry, that was a little tangent. Yeah. I nearly forgot to mention Ebs. So, what's the time? Okay, 6:30. I need to leave soon. We're nearly done anyway. So, so on the other hand, Ebs, and I spoke about like the interpersonal marketing, like this is something I think kind of gets neglected, and often it gets neglected because of people's different personality types and either some people wanting to be too humble, or some people being shy, or you get it. It's just for certain reasons, people aren't good or choose not to speak about their brand. Do you know what I'm saying? And building Where's My TV with Rash and Gabs and the team or whatever, like there's times where I struggle to speak, well, in the early days, I struggled to speak about Where's My TV because I felt like we hadn't done anything yet. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was like, what am I telling you?
Yeah, I hear that.
Do you get what I'm saying? But over time, I started to see the value in talking about what we're doing. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that almost like interpersonal marketing helped craft people's perception about what we're doing. Because you can see that it's a podcast, but when I speak to you behind closed doors, you realize that Where's My TV is a lot more than a podcast. And because I tell you about our goals, you have more respect for what we're doing rather than it just being a podcast. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Ebs, his episode is great at showing that you as a person can really market your brand. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he will tell people, yo, if you buy this t-shirt off me now and you don't like the quality, I'll give you another t-shirt and your money back. Do you get what I'm saying? Like
the confidence, man.
The confidence, you get it. Like he's really marketing in real life.
Even stories when Ambush and Young Philly and stuff like that. So obviously he heard that Ambush was in Scotland and the areas, and he literally went to the restaurant and I think he waited for them to leave. He's like, yo, Amber's gonna give you my stuff, and I was like, yo, did you just buy coffee just to give you some stuff?
Just to do that.
Yeah, and then, but that's things you gotta do. Like you never know what could come of that, and I think even the story with Philly, like I think Philly wanted trim, and then obviously Ibs was like, yeah, I'll cut you, blah blah blah. And then Philly was like, do you want money? He's like, nah, just wear my garments, bro. And then I think even he said from the picture and everything like that, like he got loads of sales from just that interaction. And then, so yeah, you never know like what can happen if you just talk to people, like just go out there, be bold. You never know, man.
Facts. And Rash paraphrased those stories so well. Do you know what I mean? Because the essence is there. Do you get it? Just talk about your stuff, man. And push your stuff and be bold in that sense, man. Again, echoing the point I made before, we all have different personality types, but find a way that works for you when it comes to that interpersonal marketing. Do you have friends that can speak about your brand for you? Do you know what I'm saying? When you're going to certain events, bring that person along with you. Do you know what I'm saying? And that person can help ease you into certain conversations. But I think for all brand owners, it's a must to be able to talk about what you're doing. Do you know what I'm saying? I think Jack Harper, what I said before, is a great example of that, talking about what he's building and whatnot. And that really plays into people's understanding of the brand and people's recognition of the brand and people's value of the brand. You know what I'm saying? I think Dolo is also a great example as well. Obviously, he has a brand which is like a Christian-based brand, but how he speaks about it, you can kind of see how that brand can still be worn by all different types of people. You don't necessarily have to be a Christian to wear it. Yes, he's got tops that say Jesus Christ saves lives, but he's got other stuff that are a bit more conceptual that, okay, are related to Christianity, but it's fine. It's almost like a universal message as well. Do you know what I mean? And he kind of tells those stories when you speak to him. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, man, whatever brand you have, whatever you're doing, just talk about it, man. I know it's tough at times, but please just do it, man. It definitely pays dividends. So we've reached the last point. You might be a bit upset with this one because this one is self-explanatory, but I think it's the best way to end, and it's so important for me to say this. Bruv, just do it. Yeah. Just do it. Yeah. All the conversations we've had on it, this podcast would not be happening, or this platform would not be a thing if Rash, Gabs and I did not just do it.
Yeah, facts.
You get it? We ideated or whatever, and eventually we got to the point where we said, ideation is becoming procrastination.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
you get what I'm saying? And so many brand owners can attest to that, because when you're starting something, there's so many things that influence whether you're going to put it out or not. One, maybe you feel like you haven't learned enough. Maybe you feel like it's not good enough. Maybe you're scared of what people are going to say about it. But unfortunately, your brand cannot grow or your idea cannot grow unless you just do it.
Try. You know and that's been, I feel like that's been like the most common answer from like all guests we've had. I think on average, yeah, I reckon that's like number one answer we've had. So if they're saying it, then it must be true.
Facts. Yeah. Facts. And that's why I chose to put it at the end, because everybody says it, man. You just have to start. I remember Woozy was the one that said it. She said, yeah, just
yeah, for real.
It was so airy. I loved how simple she was.
Yeah, for real. Because it is as simple as that, though. Just start. Even if you spend like a little bit every single day, it'll add up to something, man. Like
100%, man. 100%. So, yeah, man. Like, obviously, watch our platform, and I hope our platform and the conversations we have give you the confidence. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I reckon there's some of you listening that are like, yeah, one day I want to have a conversation with JT, and you meet Rash and meet Gabs, and you get what I'm saying. And the only way for those things to happen is if you just put yourself out there, man. Like, what's the worst that can happen, man? Yeah. For me, anybody that starts, I applaud you. I don't necessarily have to like what you're making. I don't necessarily have to buy into your brand story. But the fact that you put something out there, bruv, I tip my hat, because it's not easy, man. I'll be honest, it's not easy. Going back to the things I said before, man, as human beings, we doubt ourselves. There's so many things that we allow to hold us back, and so many anxieties that we have that turn into procrastination. You get it? And some people procrastinate eternally.
Yeah.
You get it? And then they get to a certain point in life where they're like, oh my God, I should have just done it, man. Because for me, one thing that keeps me going, yeah, and it sounds so cynical, but nobody cares about you as much as you think.
Yeah,
and it sounds, but you get the point I'm making, Rash. Like,
even if you're doing well, like, people got their own lives. They're just focused on they're doing their minute. Like,
everybody is the main character in their own world. Most people do not have enough time to criticize your brand, bro. They don't have enough care to criticize your brand. You get it? Even with artists, musicians, yeah, okay, the first couple songs, some people may not like it. A lot of people will like it. But at the end of the day, no one's just listening to your music, bro.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I'd say, Rash, unless you got any end points, man can end it there, man.
Yeah, nah, it's calm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. So, I hope you all enjoyed that. I think that was a great conversation, Rash. Nah, yeah, Rash, you dropped some gems in there.
Like the last convo, the last one we did was the Cortez one.
Yeah. Let's do more of these ones.
Yeah, trust me, bro. Yeah.
You're the man behind the cam. You know, everyone likes a man behind the cam. You know the one. Just the voice. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and all of that. Leave some comments and whatnot, and give us more ideas of conversations you want us to have. Of course, there's space. We've got space in the studio. Man can bring in different types of people to have different conversations. So let us know what would edify you guys. And yeah, as I always say, keep it locked. Thank you for watching another episode of Where's My Podcast. If you ever want to take in future episodes on the go, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Whilst you're there, please leave us a 5-star review. It would really help. And also, don't forget to follow us on our Instagram, WMTV_LDN, to keep up to date with the latest goings on in UK fashion. Keep it locked.